They can just point it at my face and unlock it really easily. Yes. Where do I even start? So, as I correctly predicted in my blog, which you can find the link down in the description below, there are now 2 iPhones to pick from this year, and it's split the internet in half. There is now the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and there is also the iPhone X, give it to you. Or iPhone 10. I should actually call it the iPhone 10. RIP iPhone 9. Where are you? I miss you. You've gone the way of Windows. And before you say, yeah, I know, they've got 3 models, technically, the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone 10. But from a camera gadget geek perspective, I'm not going to get the iPhone 8. It's either going to be the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 10. The story from Apple is clear. One of them is the present, and one of them is the future. Which one should you go for? Here is the iPhone 8 versus the iPhone 10. So let's break down some stats. The iPhone 8 Plus is being called the iPhone 7S Plus by many people in the know, because to be fair, design-wise, not much has changed. The main differing point is the glass back instead of the metal back, which gives way to a wireless charging coil. This is the technology that the iPhone is about 10 years late on, I would say. The first phone I remember having wireless charging is the Palm Pre. Do correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Besides that, you're getting mostly similar specs to what you got before. A 5.5-inch display with 1920 by 1080. Main difference this time, you're getting a True Tone display, so you're getting a deeper color contrast ratio. It's also rated splash, water and dust resistant via IP67 under IEC standards. Chip-wise, it's now got what Apple are calling the A11 Bionic chip in it, with a 64-bit architecture. It's a 6-core processor with 2 high-speed cores and 4 efficiency cores. And it's also got a neural engine in it and an embedded M11 motion coprocessor. Now, all of that bounded together means you're now getting a much smarter and much more capable phone. Photograph-wise, finally, 4K in 60 frames a second. There's 2 12-megapixel cameras, the wide angle has an f1.8 aperture, and the telephoto has an f2.8. We've got the optical zoom, but you've got a digital zoom up to 10 times. Besides the portrait mode, which is now coming out of beta, there's now a new version of it called portrait lighting. Different kinds of studio lighting used in most portrait photography. It looks pretty cool looking from the videos, but I'd have to actually get my hands on it to see whether it's worthwhile or not. Besides that, you're getting optical image stabilization in the wide angle lens and all the same specs that you got before. Front facing camera, you've got a 7 megapixel lens and it can shoot 1080p HD video recording. Beyond those bigger developments, wireless charging, better camera, faster processor, there's not much else to report. The battery lasts about the same time as the iPhone 7, but another interesting part to that is it's now fast charge capable. So you can charge it to 50% of its battery life in 30 minutes. And now we move on over to the interesting one, the iPhone X. Give it to you. This phone is exactly what many blogs found it to be in the leaked iOS firmware and the leaked HomePod firmware. Thank you very much, Steve Troughton-Smith, for that. The front is literally all screen from top to bottom, and it curves around the top and it curves around the bottom. The only exception is a little lip at the top, which holds the true depth camera. I'll go into that in a second. The screen is a 5.8-inch Super Retina display at 2436 by 1125 pixel resolution. This is completely new for the iPhone. They've also moved to OLED technology with a high dynamic range display, meaning that you get a much deeper contrast ratio, a wide color display at 1,000,000:1 ratio. Besides that, I've been digging deep into the tech specs, and it's fair to say there isn't that much difference performance-wise and hardware-wise except for this design. So let me go into it. Exactly the same as the iPhone 8 Plus, you're getting 2 12-megapixel cameras, one wide angle, one telephoto. The only difference between these two is that the telephoto lens is an f2.4 aperture instead of an f2.8. On a mobile phone camera, you're not going to see a difference. Besides that, you're getting all the same features of the back camera. You're getting the portrait lighting beta mode. You're getting all the same sapphire crystal lens. You're getting the 6-element lenses. And the only other difference is that there's optical image stabilization on both the wide angle and the telephoto lens. The true depth camera is a 7 megapixel front facing camera. So it can record the same 1080p HD video as the iPhone 8 Plus can. But the main difference comes with all the Face ID technology they've put in there. The true depth camera in that top is packed with an infrared camera, a flood illuminator, a proximity sensor, an ambient light sensor, the speaker and the mic in the middle, the 7 megapixel camera and the dot projector. The 7 megapixel camera, the dot projector and the infrared camera are going to work together to create a 3D scan of your face. So all you have to do to unlock your phone is just to glance at it and it should theoretically unlock. This is a pretty cool technology, but one with some security concerns I'd want Apple to address. I get that technically Touch ID is less secure than Face ID in terms of there being a 24,000 to 1 possibility of somebody else being able to unlock your phone with their fingerprint compared to 1,000,000 to 1 with Face ID. But in terms of how rapid this technology is, all it could take is somebody on the street to grab my phone and point it at my face and then they're in. I'd have to keep my eyes closed at all times during a robbery. That doesn't seem logical. Thanks to all these sensors as well, you now get portrait mode and you get portrait lighting on your front facing camera, which can make your selfies look a little bit better. Apple celebrated on stage. It gives way to cooler, more detailed and much better tracking Snapchat filters. And let's not forget the true depth camera enables an emoji, which will be the product of my nightmares for the next year. Battery life wise, I know that they said it lasts up to 2 hours longer than the iPhone 7, but I've got some questions. When you compare the specific stats together of the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone X, give it to you. It tells a very different story. Both of them have 21 hours talk time. Internet use, the iPhone 8 Plus actually lasts an hour longer, and besides that, they last the same amount of time on wireless video playback and wireless audio playback. It has fast charge, it's got the same wireless charging as well, which is great, but why say it lasts 2 hours longer than the iPhone 7 when you can't back it up with the numbers there? And besides that, there's bugger all difference. It's got the same A11 processor, it's got the same neural engine, it's got the same M11 motion co-processor, same rear cameras, same 7 megapixel front camera. The only difference is the full front screen on the front and the fact it looks insanely good. To a gadget geek like me, it looks borderline pornographic. But I digress. Which one should you go for? Should you go for the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 10? Let me make one thing clear to begin with. If you are upgrading to either of these phones this year, it's a mathematical impossibility that any phone network will be able to match the current contract price that you are on. Do not let the networks inflate the price of their contracts alongside an iPhone just because they know that you will buy one. Play it smarter, separate the two up, get yourself a SIM-only contract. It makes things a lot cheaper in the long run, and go for the iPhone upgrade program, which gives you that flexibility to keep that phone that you're on and keep paying for it, kind of like a leasing scheme, or to upgrade to a new phone every year, hypothetically, if you want to. In terms of the phones themselves, I am super impressed by the iPhone 10. Congratulations, Apple, you have finally caught up. But this, even though it's called iPhone 10, it's a first generation iPhone for them. This is the first time they've broken the mold of this standard design and they've gone for something completely new. And if we all know anything about first gen Apple products, it's that you kind of avoid them. It's because they always get the formula right the second time round. I mean, think about all the stuff they've got coming through the pipeline that they couldn't put into this phone because it wasn't technically possible. A Touch ID sensor on the screen itself, that would make things in a store when I'm paying with Apple Pay so much less awkward than just, oh yeah, that's $2.99. Alright, cool, thanks. See, it's weird. I'm not going to pay like that. And it gives Apple a year to think, maybe £1,000 is just a little bit too much for a phone. So this year, even though it utterly pains me to say it, I will be buying the iPhone 8 Plus. And I recommend that you guys do as well. Because the iPhone X looks insanely futuristic. I'd love for the possibility to show that off to people. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's a showpiece. It's a very nice looking showpiece. And it's one that would fit into my life very nicely. But it's Apple's first attempt at a full screen phone. And I'd want to see where they go next with it. So when it comes to the iPhone 10, in the words of the stupendous and thoroughly underrated 2013 romantic comedy,
I give it a year.
Thank you all so much for watching. Now, this is the first time I've done a piece to camera like this, just to break something down. If you enjoyed it, do give it a thumbs up so I know to do more of these in the future. What phone are you going for? At the end of the day, this is just one person's opinion, and you can go ahead and tell me I'm wrong. You can go ahead and tell me to shove my opinion up my arse and tell me Android is better. Whatever you want to do. Just fire up in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys. Cheers. Oh, that was cold.